Hey, Tim Frisch here with A Frisch Perspective. People have been very interested in this story that I've been talking about with Pastor John MacArthur and Grace Community Church continuing to meet inside in California in spite of the California government restrictions. And that kind of came to a head last Friday. I gave an update where a court actually ruled in favor of Grace Community Church being allowed to meet indoors for the time being. And the understanding was that they could temporarily meet. Just this one church was granted by the court to meet inside in this county, Los Angeles County, in California, until the full hearing on September 4th. The stipulation, though, is that if they were going to meet indoors, they would practice social distancing and wearing masks. Now, they did meet this morning, but interestingly, they were not wearing masks or social distancing at the church, and I thought that was very interesting. I wanted to know why. So to answer that question, let me start with the opening of their service from John MacArthur.
All that, and I haven't even said anything. We're having church. It's actually hard to figure out exactly what the city is trying to do with us and to us, but we know they don't want us to do exactly what we're doing right now. And we're not meeting because we want to be rebellious. We're meeting because our Lord has commanded us to come together and worship Him. There was a court order that granted this church and this church alone the right to meet indoors, and the powers of the city were not happy about that. They were going to be asking us to do two things, social distance and wear masks. That was until yesterday when the city, we agreed, look, we'll comply for a few weeks. They asked that for 3 weeks. We're not wanting to be defiant. We will do what is reasonable. That was not enough for the city, so they went to the appellate court at the last minute on Saturday late and had that order removed. So the good news is you're here, you're not distancing, and you're not wearing masks. And it's also good news that you're not outside because it's very hot out there. So the Lord knew you needed to be inside and unmasked. So He did us that gracious favor. They don't want us to meet. That's obvious. They're not willing to work with us. They just want to shut us down. But we're here to bring honor to the Lord. They're not our enemy. We understand that. The Bible tells us to pray for our leaders, for their salvation. We need to be faithful to do that.
After the initial ruling by the court on Friday, August 14th, John MacArthur had made it clear that they were going to try to comply by those guidelines, wear masks, and do social distancing. But he references here in this morning service opening that the plot had thickened, and the government authorities in their city were not happy with the ruling on Friday. So I do have a Los Angeles Times article that tells a little more detail on this. The article is titled, "Los Angeles County Church Appears Ready to Defy Court Order and Hold Indoor Services." So right from the title there, it is evident that by them meeting this Sunday, they are defying a particular court order. So what is that talking about? The article says, a Sun Valley church, Grace Community Church, was planning to hold an indoor service Sunday in defiance of a court order. In a decision issued late Saturday, the California Court of Appeal set aside a lower court order that would have allowed indoor services to take place at Grace Community Church. The appellate court ruling temporarily halts indoor services and set a September 4th hearing for complete arguments from both sides in the case. In issuing the temporary stay, the court said the case involved difficult questions of law that could not be resolved in time for Sunday's church services. So the justices opted to leave the ban in place until the September 4th hearing. Local officials praised the ruling. Los Angeles County is pleased that the California Court of Appeal recognizes the vital importance of our health officer orders in protecting the lives and health of our residents as we work to slow the spread of the deadly COVID-19 virus, a county statement released Saturday said. We will continue to work closely with all religious institutions, including Grace Community Church, to make sure their congregants are protected and provided with accurate information about worshiping safely during this phase of the pandemic. Pastor John MacArthur indicated, however, he intended to hold an indoor service Sunday in spite of the order. The church's website listed a service scheduled for 10:30 a.m., led by MacArthur. On Friday, Los Angeles Superior Court Judge James Chalfant had denied almost all of the Los Angeles County's reasons for requesting a temporary restraining order against the church. He agreed that it was the county's burden to show why they should be permitted to infringe on the constitutionally protected rights of churches to freely exercise religion. So what you're seeing in this article is that on Friday it had been ruled that the church could meet and that the California government had to justify and show why they were putting these restrictions on churches. But the city, as John MacArthur talked about, was not happy with that ruling, and so they went to a higher court, appealed to a higher court, which made the decision to issue a temporary stay and halt indoor services until September 4th. So what did Grace Community Church do? They continued to meet, and that's what they did this morning. So that's what we were seeing. And since they were already going against the court ruling from Saturday, then they went ahead and met without social distancing and wearing masks because essentially the Friday ruling no longer applied. And the Friday ruling would have allowed them to meet legally provided that they practice social distancing and wear masks. MacArthur has made it clear they're not trying to be rebellious, but the city has not been happy with how the church is handling this situation. The church obviously is not happy with how the government is handling this situation. And so the situation continues to kind of go back and forth here. So this is shaping up to be quite an interesting battle, and I will continue to talk about this. September 4th is going to be the date of the full hearing, so we're going to be staying tuned for that to see what the court decides about this situation on September 4th. However, there might be some other things that take place between now and then in light of the church choosing to meet today. But it seems that aside from what happens at this point, Grace Community Church is going to continue their peaceful protests on Sunday mornings and continue to meet as a church regardless of what the government restrictions are. I know a lot of people are very happy and supportive of what MacArthur and Grace Community Church are doing. Other people are not in agreement with what he is doing and have a major problem with it. And the argument that is being made against Grace Community Church is that people think that this is a health risk. However, Grace Community Church is making the point that they are an essential service. They are providing something that is essential as other entities that are being allowed to function during this time. So to speak to that issue, I plan to do a video very soon, and I will be talking about what could actually lead to a victory for Grace Community Church. And I do think that they have a very strong case if they take a certain track, and I'm going to talk about that. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to be allowed to meet and not have to practice social distancing and take certain precautions, but I do think that they have a good chance of being able to continue to meet indoors, at least to some extent, if they can make this case that it is not irresponsibly dangerous to do so. But obviously this is a very interesting story, and not only interesting in an intellectual sense, this is something that people feel very deeply about, and those who are Christians have a spiritual interest in what's going on here. But even the culture at large has a lot of feelings about issues like this, because some people feel that it is really dangerous for people to be meeting indoors and to have large crowds together. And obviously that is the information that a lot of people have been hearing. A lot of people challenge that narrative and say, no, we are not facing any kind of a huge health risk here by meeting together. And there are many things that are happening in our culture right now where people are being exposed to potential disease, and meeting at church is not really any more dangerous than going to a crowded Walmart or something like that. But I just wanted to give another update here and let you know that Grace Community Church did meet, that they were actually defying an order in meeting today, and that they met without social distancing and masks. At the same time, they are trying to be respectful and work with the government, but the government doesn't seem really to want to work with them. It is going to be so interesting to see where things go from here. Those are some thoughts that I wanted to share with you. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Please try to keep those comments positive and edifying. But thank you so much for listening to what I have to say from A Frisch Perspective.